Hello and welcome. Have you ever had that feeling like you're waiting for something really, really important, but you're not exactly sure how to get ready for it? Well, today we're going to dive right into that idea. We'll explore what it truly means to be watchful and waiting, and how that whole mindset can actually change the way we see and live each day. All right, let's jump in. I think the first big question we have to tackle is why? In a world that's just full of distractions, why is this idea of being watchful so important to begin with? What's the real motivation behind it all? And that leads us straight into our first section, why we must watch. Because before we can really get into the how-to, we've got to have a solid grip on the why. And the core reason for this call to be watchful, well, it all starts with taking a really honest look at the world around us. So the whole foundation for this discussion begins with this very frank observation. The source material describes the world we live in today as a dark place. Now, this isn't about being negative, not at all. It's really about being realistic. When things can feel confusing or chaotic or morally gray, the need for a clear direction, a light to follow, becomes absolutely crucial. And because we're in this kind of setting, the way we choose to live our lives has some really direct and pretty opposite consequences. It's framed as a clear choice we make. A watchful life, lived with purpose, leads down one path, towards a reward. But a careless life, one where we're just kind of drifting, well, that leads down a very different road, towards punishment. This really creates a sense of urgency, showing us that our small daily actions really do matter in the long run. So why is there so much weight on our actions? Well, according to the source material, it's because there's a moment of ultimate accountability coming. This idea of standing before Christ's judgment seat isn't presented as something to be terrified of, but more like a final review of our life's work. You can think of it as a review of what we've built. And that's the ultimate reason to avoid a careless life. The understanding that everything we do is building something that's meant to last forever. Which is the perfect segue into our next section, building for eternity. I mean, if we're supposed to live this careful, watchful life, what does that actually look like day to day? The metaphor that's used here is just so powerful. We are all builders, and the project we're working on is our own life, being built for eternity. And here's the key. This reward we're talking about, it's not based on one big decision we make. It's the sum total of how we live today. It's all about the daily grind, the little choices, the quiet moments. The value of what we're building isn't determined at the very end. It's determined by the quality of our work and the materials we choose to use, day in and day out. This chart just lays it out so clearly. Think about it. There are two types of materials we can use for this construction project of our life. On one side, you've got things that last. Things that can withstand fire, gold, silver, and precious stones. These represent things that come from God's divine nature in us, things that are pure and valuable. But then, on the other side, you've got wood, grass, and stubble. They're common, sure, and easy to find, but they burn up in a flash. They symbolize things that come from our own human nature, our temper, our pride, our passing feelings. So the big question we always have to ask ourselves is, what am I building with right now? Okay. Let's connect the dots here. We're builders, working on an eternal project, but we're doing it in what's described as a dark world. So how are we supposed to see what we're doing? How do we tell the good materials from the bad? We need a light, right? Well, this next section gives us the tool we need to light up our path. And here it is. This is our light source. The material says the prophetic word is a lamp in the dark. Now, in this context, prophetic word isn't about predicting the future like a fortune teller. It's referring to the living, powerful words in the Bible. It's like having a steady, reliable flashlight that cuts through all the darkness around us, helping us see where to step and what we're building with. So our job really is to actively pay attention to this lamp, and that means more than just a quick glance. It means we have to really focus on the word, letting it guide our choices and shape our whole perspective. We're encouraged to hold on to this light and keep our eyes fixed on it as we walk through the darkness, waiting until we see the first light of a new day on the horizon. And that brings us to our fourth section, meeting the morning star. So what happens when that day finally starts to dawn? This is what all the watching, all the waiting, all the careful building has been for. It's presented as the ultimate prize for a life lived with vigilance. Let's talk about this incredible moment. But, this raises a really important question. Is this big event something that everyone sees at the exact same time? Or is it something a little more personal? The answer to this really shows what the true prize is for being watchful. And the answer is it's a private showing. The morning star doesn't just appear for everybody all at once. It's described as this intimate, secret appearance that's reserved specifically for those who stayed awake, for those who kept their lamps lit and were actively waiting. It's not a public announcement. It's a deeply personal reward for their faithfulness. So, just to be super clear, the morning star here is a symbol for Christ himself. It's not his main public return for the whole world to see. That's like the sunrise. This is different. This is a special early preview. It's like a single brilliant star that appears in the darkest part of the night, just before the dawn, and it appears only for those watchful ones, the overcomers who've earned this prize. Okay, so understanding all these big ideas is one thing, but how do we actually bring this into our busy, everyday lives? This final section is all about shifting from the what and why to the practical how. It gives us some simple, real steps we can take to actually practice this watchful spirit every single day. You see, the path to being ready is built on simple, daily habits like these. First, just finding 10 minutes for some quiet time. It's not about some long, complicated ritual. It's just about making a little space to recenter our hearts. Second, calling on his name when we get frustrated. That's such a powerful way to shift our focus off our temporary problems and onto eternal truth. Third, asking that honest daily question, am I ready? That keeps us mindful. And finally, making the prayer, come Lord Jesus, a regular thing in our hearts. That keeps our ultimate hope right in front of us. And so, this is the question that all of this leads to. It's not a question meant to make us nervous, but to give us purpose. If we're consciously building with the right materials and we're guided by the lamp of his word, we can live in a state of joyful readiness. So maybe the thought to leave with is this. What can I do today that helps me answer that question with a confident and hopeful yes? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.